All right. Let's begin. On the field of battle, a warrior is slain. He's given his all, surrounded by his fallen comrades, the ghosts of 50 young years of toil, only to fail. Bested by his opponent, he feels nothing but steel and then silence. The team assembles for its season. 16 long games. A new wideout called Megatron awaits his debut. They fail to win a single game. A prisoner condemned to life in prison, innocent of his crimes, guilty only of having loved and lost, guilty only of daring to be human, to bleed. Regardless, he sits in a cell unloved and forgotten, with only the dark for company. A phantom face mask is called. Aaron Rodgers converts the longest Hail Mary in history, knocking the Lions out of the playoffs. There is only anguish. Golden Tate scores a touchdown. It's overturned and a technicality prevents any further plays ending the game. There is only suffering. 2 band hands to the face calls give Rodgers 8 extra downs. You know what happens next. Matthew Stafford leads the Lions to a late fourth quarter lead. The Ravens' young ticker, by the name of Justin Tucker, hits a record 6th field goal in the game to seal our fate. Pass interference is missed. The Lions collapse. The Lions are cursed. The Lions are cursed. A child is born. Its first moments blinking in the first light he has ever experienced. He's fresh. He is unnew. He is untouched by the sins of the past. The sun rises. In Detroit this Sunday, a bad roster outplays a good one. The Lions take the lead late. 4th and a million converted. Delay of game missed. Justin Tucker record-breaking field goal. The Lions lose. The ghost of the past haunts Lions fans. Half a century of losing, of futility, of failure torments us. There is this ethereal balance in the world. If the Lions exist, then they have a chance to win. But if the Lions win, can anything really exist? Therein lies the paradoxical nature of the Lions. The shadow engulfs all that I am. Hope always giving way to more pain and suffering. It is all that I've ever experienced. However, my faith remains. I look up at Dan Campbell. There is talk he may be the savior. It's been said before about other men, but I buy in again. I sign up for more suffering, for more anguish. Because when the Lions win, it will be worth all other wins put together. It will be all that I've ever hoped, and more. The warrior is awaited in Valhalla to celebrate with his comrades. Escape is the prisoner's salvation, and fresh air has never tasted so sweet. The child lifts his head. He takes in the sunrise. It's a new day in Detroit. On to the next one. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 3. I am Kirk Oliver at Captain Kirk _ the adequate host, your co-host, your league commissioner, and I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, John Reed. How's it going, John?
Kirk, always a pleasure to see you, my friend, and this is a week of sadness. There is no hope for the Philadelphia Eagles. I bailed on the Eagles hat. I bailed on the jersey. Zach Ertz did get a touchdown yesterday, and to tell you the truth, Kirk, I threw up. I felt gross yesterday. Really pathetic, really pathetic. Nick Sirianni handed the ball off to Miles Sanders, I think twice. Just pathetic, absolutely pathetic. And for that, I'm giving him the hand of the king because he should not be play calling, and he should be second in charge to Mr. Doug Peterson, who was wrongfully fired. Hot take, we fired the wrong guy. Howie Roseman needs to go. But, all right, I'm not going to go off on my soliloquy there. But, great to be back. Great to be on the Commish Dish. And very exciting matchups this week. A lot to talk about.
All right. With that, roll the fucking intro. right, welcome back. That was a little word from our sponsors, ladies and gentlemen. And we are going to come back, and we have with us a very special guest for this next little section. Will, why don't you come on and meet everyone?
Yeah.
That's Will Sommer. Welcome to the pod, Will. We've got some report card here, report card for the week, and we're going to take you around the league, give everyone their letter grade, and John, why don't you take us into that?
Yeah, Sommer, glad to have
First,
you here.
welcome, Sommer. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys. Honored to be here. My two favorite commissioners.
We're the only two, but I'll take it as a compliment. So let's just jump right into it. We got Sommer here, and we got the report card for the North Division. And just kicking it off with myself, I wanted to be humble. I thought, I'm 3-0. I should give myself an A+, and I said, no, I'm going to give myself an A-. Questions lingering about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. CeeDee Lamb didn't have a great night. Zeke went off. The Cowboys got some dogs. But, other than that, I think pretty good performance from the squad. Put up, I think, third most points, maybe second. Not bad. But curious, what do you guys think?
I'm with you on A-, 148. I think it was probably the second most this week. So second best point total. And then obviously a win over your rival in Prego. So that's got to feel nice. And you hold on to like the only undefeated record. So I'm with A- there. I think that's fair. Yeah, what do you think, Will?
Yeah, I think A- sounds like a pretty fair grade to me. You had a great performance from Zeke. Clyde Edwards-Helaire finally had some production. CeeDee didn't have his best week, but I think the fact that you still put up 148 with CeeDee getting less than 10 points, I think that's a good sign of things to come. I personally think CeeDee's still very heavily on the wide receiver 1 radar.
Do we want to talk about a little bit about outlook as well on top of the letter grade, or do we want to just keep it to this week's performance, John?
We can talk a little bit about outlook. I had it specified as week 3, but I mean, I think probably A- is about where I put it. I still would be surprised at this point to be in the championship game. I think I have the 5th most points total in the league. And I think, I'm a playoff team, but I don't think I'm going to be a high playoff team. And, I'm just happy to be winning games, boys. If I'm honest here, I've had some terrible luck in this whole league. So I think, A- I think is about right.
I'm with you. And I think maybe what we could do is talk about like if someone had something bad happen, then that could maybe impact their grade, like for their outlook.
Kirk, are you foreshadowing your team?
Might be foreshadowing a particular team, but yeah. So I think everything's normal. Did Tony Pollard get injured or something? I don't remember what happened there, but either way, Zeke is there, so that's fine. And yeah, like I think your team is looking good, and it's looking like all you have to do, John, is hang around for the playoffs, and if you keep doing this every week, I think you'll be there, right in the mix. So,
fair.
All right, do you want to move on to number 2? It looks like this team has the best grade here. It looks like. What is this team? Oh, it's my team. Oh, wow. You want to introduce this one, John? What were you thinking here with this A?
I mean, it's the man, it's the myth, it's the legend, Kirk Oliver. Christian McCaffrey goes down Thursday Night Football, put up 6 points, I think. I'm thinking, oh, chalked. Season chalked. Week 3, chalked. What does Kirk do? Comes out, most points in the league this week. I mean, you got to respect the grit on this team. That was a gritty win against a very good opponent in Santi, and I was impressed. That's why you got the highest marks here, and I think it's well deserved.
Yeah. Will, do you want to chip in here? What do you think of the A grade?
Yeah, I think A is spot on. I think it's good that we clarified, the week 3 versus the outlook determining the letter grade, because, if you look at the week as a whole, obviously the McCaffrey injury is going to hurt. We still don't know how long he's going to be out. What are they saying, like 3 weeks or something? Or
they're saying 3 weeks, but the Panthers don't want to put him on the IR in case he's ready before that.
Okay. Yeah. So
I think on the IR, but he will be probably down for about 3 weeks.
Yep. But, it's Christian McCaffrey. He'll probably be back swinging at full force. But yeah, I think A is spot on. You still put up the highest scoring total in the league this week with him only getting 6 points. You got great production out of both your wide receivers. Mike Williams, early candidate for waiver pickup of the season, and yeah, I think it's a good grade. It's a good week for you, barring the McCaffrey injury.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about my team because I'm so proud of the boys. So proud. A is right where we should be this week in terms of this week's performance because I just want to bring something up here that I think maybe hasn't been seen in the league since summer year one. And that is that every single position player except for flex, defense, and kicker is a top 10 player at their position. I have the top 2 wideouts right now in terms of scoring. I have the number, I think, 4 and 6 running backs, or 3. It says 3 and 4. Now, obviously, McCaffrey going down, that's a damper. That's tough. Makes me sad. But I think we're resilient. I think we'll find a way to get at least 1 or 2 wins out of that little 3-game stretch, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, I'm proud of the team. I think I have one of the better teams this year. They're starting to win me over. So.
And speaking of winning you over, Sommer's team initially had won you over, and then you gave this really eloquent soliloquy about, you're on the ship, you're ready to ride with it, and then you bailed. You went for the lifeboats, you shoved women and children on the way, and Sommer, I mean, he got the win over Martelli, but as we know, that's a low mark, dude. I think what did Martelli put up, like 102? So I think, Sommer, I got D stands for disaster. Your team, I think, is a disaster, and the Washington football team is a disaster. But obviously curious to see what you think about that.
Yeah, Kirk, do you wanna give your thoughts first, and then I'll go?
Sure. I'll chip in here. I did make for the lifeboats. I did abandon ship. But I'm not like regretting it instantly right now. I do think solid week for Sommer, nice bounce back week, 128. He needs to be getting around there. I think around every week to give himself a shot. But honestly, like the fact of the matter is we had Martelli in here and he talked about money balling stuff. We basically could have locked it in right then. We basically could have said, like, I mean, how many times every single podcast we brought up how Martelli is the cockiest dude here. And he keeps getting punished by fate, by God, saying, you need to humble yourself. So yeah, I think Sommer got a nice win there. Viewers, this might be a little confusing because we haven't done it around the horn yet. It's a little shot out of order, but yeah, I think I would give him above a D for this. I would give him about a C for this score, 128. It doesn't blow my socks off, but it's where he needs to be every week. So yeah, I'm gonna disagree a little bit, but I think, yeah, I'm still kind of not rocking with this team long term. Sommer, do you want to maybe push back on us there?
Yeah, so I'm with you there. I think for this week, I think the D is a little bit low. I picked up the dub. I got the 4th highest scoring week, although it was a pretty low scoring week across the board, and I was barely the 4th highest scoring. But I think with the W, I'll probably give myself a C+ or B- maybe. I still need to be breaking 130 if I want to be a serious name in the championship contention. But yeah, I think the D could be a little more reflective of my drafting and my performance to date overall, and maybe even my outlook. I'm not too high on my team, but I'm an adaptive fantasy player, gonna make some moves, and hopefully I'll be up there in contention for the championship coming into the playoffs.
Whoa, Sommer, is that your outlook right there? Are you calling championship this year?
I'm saying the players I have right now, I don't think this roster is going to get me there, but I'm going to try to make some moves and see where it takes me.
There you have it, gentlemen. This is why you tune into the pod.
Oh yeah.
Why you tune into the breaking stuff. We're bringing you information. I was thinking, John, do you want to let Will maybe talk about Jack's performance here? He was on the other sideline. He was watching it up close and personal. And it must have been a disgusting sight. So, Will, why don't you tell us what you think of the F rating that John's given Jack here, and what you thought of Jack's performance as a whole?
Yeah, definitely. So, last week, as I'm sure you guys remember, Jack did give me the Martelli of the week, which that was understandable. I had a very bad week. It just wasn't good all around, and that was fair. And I kind of wish he talked a little more shit before our matchup this week. But right before kickoff, I looked across the sideline. I saw Jack. He was shaking in his little boots over there. He's not looking like the guy who was saying, "Oh, this whole Moneyball tactic is going to take me to the promised land." I think Jack just got a little out of his steps with what he thought of his team, and his players clearly were not behind him. So I think we were talking about it in the chat earlier this week. Like, I think on paper, Jack's got some really good players, and I actually think he's got one of the better rosters in this league. But the thing about fantasy is it's not just about the players; it's also about the coaching. And I'm not sure that team has the coaching to go anywhere serious. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think first off, I'm not in love with his players anyway. I mean, he has some questions at RB2, and yeah, I think he just has some questions on his roster that some other teams don't have this year. And on top of that, like, he's going to remain cocky. He's going to remain, thinking he's the best, thinking he's the shit. And honestly, ever since he's adopted that mentality, he's not won games. So yeah, I'm with the F, and I think we might be looking at a few more Fs this year because, I mean, embarrassing performance. So, John, do you want to tell us what you were originally thinking when you gave the F, or do you think we've covered everything there?
I think I can go very quickly here. And this is kind of like an extended metaphor that I think encapsulates it. Jack's the kid who, went into the first test. He didn't study. He wound up, just manifesting an A. Got so lucky. It was multiple choice. He gets C all the way, and that was it. And what we're seeing right now is a return to the mean. He is a bad fantasy manager. He's a bad coach. Like Sommer said, it's about the coaching in fantasy football. It's not just the players. And I've been using the word hubris, and I think hubris is the perfect example of Jack's trajectory in this league. But, we can kick it over to Santi. And, Sommer, you and Santi are close, obviously. I gave him a B+. I've been actually very impressed with this team. But, what do you think? What do you think the outlook's like? And, how have you been impressed or disappointed about what you've seen from him?
Yeah, I think a B+ is, again, another good rating, another good grade for this week. He didn't get the dub, but I think he had second highest. I'm pretty sure. Third highest, barely. Unfortunate for him, he couldn't pick up the dub this week. But I think this is one of my top picks for the championship this season if he can keep his roster strong. I really like his running backs as long as Saquon can stay healthy. I think he's got the best receivers in the league. I'm pretty high on Hawkinson. I think it could be a good season for Santi, but he's just gonna have to, stay strong as a manager.
I'm right there with you, Will. I beat him this week, but I was sweating it. And he got pretty bad game from Hawkinson because they were just like quadruple teaming him every time. So yeah, I think Hawkinson will bounce back from that. And yeah, I just think his team's pretty good. One of the better rosters in the league. So I think that's fair. B+. Yeah, I think he's got a good team. Good squad. Don't have much really to say about it besides that. What about you, John? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think, pretty much what you all said. I've been impressed with his squad. I actually looked at his team today. I was like, where did he draft all these players? Like, he's got like top players in a lot of positions. And I think probably because Saquon fell a little bit, but I mean, yeah, like some of the best receivers in the league, some of the best running backs. Kind of sus on how this all transpired. I need to go back and check the draft, but he had really good picks, and I would actually maybe give him, in terms of the outlook and future prospects, probably an A-. I think he's got one of the top squads in the league. And yeah, no, I've been impressed with Santi. And I've been giving him some love too. I've been giving him some good gas on the pod. He did watch the first one, a little bit delayed. That's okay. Santi, we're glad you're here. Glad you're listening. And That's why we do this. We don't do it for our own good. We do it for the league. But let's switch over to the South Division.
I wanted to bring something up here, John,
Go
just
for it.
real quick. There's been a lot of talk from certain individuals on the other side of the league. And it's been about sort of disparity, if you will, between talent. And I just thought I'd maybe point out that this week, all four of the top point totals were from the North Division. And a certain individual who is often vocal in their displeasure about, that is maybe the worst team in the league this year. So I just thought I'd let everyone know that and say, yeah, I think the North Division is where it's at this year. I thought I'd get your guys' take on that. You're both proud members of the Northern Division. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think we have the stronger division this year. I think your roster's looking great. I think John's roster's looking great. Same with Santi. Jack and I, we're kind of holding the division back a little bit. But that being said, you see the division right across from us, and they've got, arguably the three worst teams in the league. So, I think we got the stronger side.
If we could get Jack to stop being an anchor, obviously, I think then there wouldn't even be a discussion. But until that day happens, yeah. I just thought I'd broach that. John, you have any thoughts on that, or do you want?
Yeah, I'm glad you did bring that up because they have Prego and the Sheriff in the same division. Those are the two worst teams, and it's not even close. And I know the Sheriff won this week. And dude, to be honest, since I've been talking smack, I made that 0-17 or whatever prediction. He rattled off 2 straight wins. So I don't know what's going on. Josh,
me and Josh too.
I know. Yeah, that's kind of surprising. And as I'm like talking and I'm looking at my letter grades, I feel like I messed up.
Yeah, I was going to say something right when you popped it.
I'm very confused. Yeah.
But
you did that so he wouldn't complain. But typo or something.
Mistype or not, I'm going to defend the letters on the screen. So we'll see what happens. We can talk about let's actually go bottom to top here. Prego, I gave him a B+. That was a clear mistype. I said I'd defend it, but I think his team sucks. So that should be an F.
I don't know about if we're saying that the grades are their performance this week, then I think B+ might actually be fair, and that's sad because 123 is not very good, but this roster is just not very good. Like it just isn't. He spent $50 to get Alexander Madison, who I think he was his highest scorer this week, but he still like only scored 123. Prego, man, where did it all go wrong? Yeah, I'd give him around a B or B+. I'm actually not too upset about this one because I think the roster like performed to its usual, like this is what the roster is going to do. So, yeah, you guys have any thoughts about that? Will?
Yeah, I think if we're looking at this by Prego's standards, then I think B+ also could be a fair grade. The $52 on Madison was hefty, but who knows? Maybe Prego knows something about Dalvin Cook that the rest of us don't. Maybe he'll be out for the season or something. But yeah, I think Prego's got the best roster. I've gotten better early returns on the trade Prego and I made last week. Jalen Waddle putting up 17 compared to Rondell's 2.4. There's not much upside, I feel like, on Prego's team really at any position besides maybe like Jonathan Taylor could still have a good season. But yeah, I'm not loving the prospects of this team at all.
Yeah.
What happened with these running backs? Because, I'm going to be fair to Prego here. Kareem Hunt, Jonathan Taylor, David Montgomery, it doesn't sound bad on paper, but they just haven't, like, it seems like just they've all had rough seasons so far. Maybe not Kareem Hunt, but I don't know. It just seems like, the fates conspired to doom his running back situation, which maybe wouldn't have been the strongest anyway, but it's certainly the weakest right now as things stand.
Kirk, I got an explanation now. I have two explanations. One, he didn't draft Ezekiel Elliott. That was an F draft getting Jonathan Taylor there. Carson Wentz coming over there. Guy's a bum. I mean, let's call it what it is. Guy's a bum. Let Zeke fall to me. Unfortunate, but yeah. Also, I was just gonna say on the B plus, I do think this is on the pretty much the absolute highest Prego's team can go because his kicker I think got 16 and his defense got 19. That's the max you're gonna get from those positions, and he still only got
the
like
one player rental got 24. Like that's a 1 week rental in Alexander Madison, right? I think
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook's back. So
And he
yeah.
was going to start Ronald or whatever that guy's Moore. He had him in the starting lineup, which we know that's a 22-point swing. So he pretty much would have put up 100 points if Dalvin Cook didn't get hurt. But good pickup. But he also spent a third of his budget on a 1 week rental. So we'll see. Although he does seem to get injuries right, so maybe he, like Sommer said, he knows something we don't. And got to be stressed if you own Dalvin Cook right now. But let's talk about Mark Lance. I roasted him pretty hard last week on the pod. Told him he was trash, and I think I predicted him to finish last. He came out. He had a decent week, but fell short at the end. What'd you guys think of Mark's performance?
Yeah, I think B minus is pretty fair. I do think this team is going to score like around this point total every week. I think James White got injured, right? Or there was an injury somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he'll score like around 125. This was a good week from a lot of his players, but then he had like some like Marquise Brown dropped 2 touchdown passes that were literally like I mean Jack Martelli could have caught those passes. That's the level we're at, and so yeah, I think this week his team played. I might even give him a C because I think his roster underperformed this week, and it cost him because he lost by 2 points. And I think that might come back to bite him a little bit. So yeah, I don't think he had a great week, and I think you're looking at a pretty average team, a team that's going to be competing for the playoffs though. What do you think, Will? Do you think Mark has a shot at the playoffs here, or where are you?
I feel like this is a pretty hard roster to project. I think if something does happen to Dalvin Cook, I think he's in some serious trouble. He'll have by far the worst running backs in the league if that were to happen. But I actually do think he's got some really good players on this roster. I think Calvin Ridley still could have a really big season. Hasn't really broken out yet. Kittle obviously is a stud. Jamar Chase, this guy I was super low on heading into the draft, but and silencing all of his haters. And yeah, he's got young Hoku, and that player alone could carry him to the championship. So we'll see.
Can I just interrupt and ask who is making the ding?
Yeah, I'll try to quiet down that ding.
If we could just mute that conversation, that would be excellent.
Let's get a do not disturb there.
You're powered through it admirably, Will, but I think people will notice that. But yeah, I'm kind of with you on your takes there. What do you think, John?
Yeah,
I kind of gave you a take a little bit, right? But do you want to have anything else to say, or?
No, I think we can move on. And we can talk about the sheriff. This is probably the most controversial grade. He beat Josh. I had him as the best team in the league, and it's always tough to try to defend giving someone a D after they beat the number one team, and then giving the number one team an A after losing and putting up 102 points. But let's do my best here. I think the sheriff's team his running back scored 9 points or 11 points rather. 11 points in a PPR league from your running backs is just atrocious. I'm sorry. There's no way of cutting it. 115 points is a bad week in this league. You'll lose most of your games if you're putting up 115. And, I think it's about right for the Sheriff's team anyways. So didn't like what I saw. Devontae Adams bailed him out, but Devontae Adams is capable of putting up those numbers. And, I actually really like Justin Herbert too. But at the end of the day, Sheriff, he's down there in Mississippi serving the community. But he was serving up a big L to Josh this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this is one of the ones I disagree with the most because I also had Josh at number 1 on my power rankings. Then had a rough game and but still Sheriff beat him. But yeah, I don't know if I give him like all the way up to an A. I would say like a B for him because like Allen Robinson, like the emergence of Justin Fields and then their passing attack being historically awful, like that like is so bad that it lowers his letter grade for me because it lowers like Allen Robinson's stock that much. And then yeah, again, like his running backs are, I think we've been saying like a few of the running back situations are the worst in the league, but now that we've come to this one, like it is the worst in the league. So yeah, and they didn't do well this week, so I would give them like that would ding his grade a little bit. But in the end, he still got the win over Josh, so that's huge. Like going on into the season, because now he only has to play Josh one more time. So yeah, I don't know. I would give him like around a B. That's where I'm at. And I think he stays alive in playoff conversation still. But yeah, I still think I have a lot of doubts about this team. But Will, do you have anything you want to say about the Sheriff? Surprise record. I don't think anyone
Yeah.
would say 1 through 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think I'd probably agree with a B or maybe even a B plus. I don't think the Sheriff should be 2-1 right now. I think he should be somewhere closer to 0-3. And and honestly, maybe same with myself. I've been lucky to squeeze out wins these past 2 weeks. But yeah, this is not a great roster, just top to bottom. He's got Daniel Jones on his bench in a league where you only have 5 bench slots, and they're even more valuable. And he's got a bottom 5 quarterback in the league just sitting there taking up a roster spot. He's got a backup defense that put up -3 points last week. His running backs, as you guys said, are not getting it done. Yes, it's not looking good for the Sheriff, but he pulled out the win over what was the number 1 team in the league. And so, yeah, you got to give him props there.
And for scheduling, I mean, it's a big win because you played. I mean, I would say probably Josh and Dev are the class of that division right now, and he's got 4 games against them. So starting off with a win there is huge, So that would help his grade for me. Do you guys want to move on to Josh? John, maybe you can explain the A here.
Maybe we should let John go last for this one.
Okay, all right. You want to go first? You want me to?
I can go real quick.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'll probably have to disagree a little bit with this A, considering Josh was the highest scoring team in the league heading into this week, and he barely put up 100 points. I still think this is a very good roster on paper, and I think could be just an outlier. But yeah, I'd probably give Josh, by his standards, closer to what you gave the man who beat him, D.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say F because Sheriff is a team he needs to beat because he's one of the easier teams he's going to play. Just like how it was brutal for me to lose. Even though I didn't have as bad of a week as Josh did here at 102. And I know he's coming off 175. So I think it's just a huge letdown game. Which I mean, it's like fair. He's allowed that, but still a bad week. And a lot of his players kind of underperformed. Tyler Lockett is a really streaky player, so you really need to look out for that because I remember last year he scored 60 points in a game, and I had him on my bench. And I still won that game, and I was thinking I won this game with 60 points from one player on my bench. And that earned him a roster spot the rest of the year, which I regretted at the end of the year because he scored like 4 points a game the rest of the year. So you have to watch out for Tyler Lockett. He's a very streaky player. And yeah, I think maybe if John wasn't worried that Josh was going to come out of his closet at 2 a.m. Saying, why did you give me a bad grade? We might be seeing a different grade here. John, what are you thinking here? Where's your reasoning here?
Well, I think this is a classic case of mistaken identity. I thought I was giving the Sheriff the A and Josh the D, and yeah, I think I flip-flopped them right there. It's really tough you can't give him an A. Like there's just no. I mean, I wrote the list, but you just can't give him an A. He had 102 points. He was awful. But I will say though, in terms of like outlook, I actually still am like very confident in this roster. I think Joe Mixon had a bit of an off day. Tyreek Hill obviously is elite fantasy asset, and he had 9.7. I think he'll have a big bounce back for the rest of the season. No concerns there. And like you said, Tyler Lockett, that was one thing I mentioned in our week 2 discussion of Josh's team. Tyler Lockett's going to come back down to earth at some point. He crashed down with 7.1 this week, but I still like this team a lot. The grade of an A for week 3 is, yeah, it's definitely some fugazi right there, but outlook wise, I'm confident with A, and I would not be surprised if he's on top of the division. But you're right, this is a big loss in the division to apparently a decent Sheriff team who, like I said, I had him going 0-14. Just I don't even know what to make of him being 2-1 right now. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's a bit surprising. I don't think anyone had him 2-1. So I don't even know if he would put himself at 2-1. You guys want to move on to Dev here, last grade, and then we can get into interviewing our special guest.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let me pull up Dev's here. Do you want to introduce this one, Samer?
Sure. I think did you give him A-? I think I'd probably go closer to a B or a B+. Dev got the win, but I think it was a very bittersweet week for him. Derrick Henry obviously put up points as you expect from him. He'll probably continue to do that. Great week from Najee Harris and great for his outlook with 18 targets, which is just unheard of for running back. But Dev did take a little beating in the wide receiver department this week. AJ Brown going down. I don't think he's going to be out for too long, but still not good to see your number one wideout going down. Cooper really coming back down to earth after that crazy week 1 performance. So yeah, I think stock in his running backs went up a lot this week, but wide receivers took a little bit of a hit. So yeah, I'd say probably around a B+, because he still managed to pick up the win this week.
John, what were you thinking when you gave this grade?
Yeah, I think really is the Najee Harris. 18 targets. That doesn't even make sense. It's a running back, dude. Like what? 18 targets? Are you kidding me? I thought that was, that's a great sign. And that Steelers team, like Big Ben is looking like Peyton Manning from when he was throwing those he is like a noodle arm. Is what I'm saying here.
Well, only he was never like as good at reading the defense as Peyton Manning.
Oh yeah. So now he's just what's he gonna do? He's gonna check down the ball, and who's he gonna throw it to? Harris 18 times apparently. Like, who cares if your wide receivers aren't that great if you have someone getting targeted 18 times? So I think obviously that was great. Derrick Henry's so consistent, and yeah, Amari Cooper's banged up. He had fractured ribs, and going up against the Eagles, like my gosh, like they were awful. The Eagles stink. No surprise there. The Cowboys got some dogs on the team, but Amari Cooper toughed it out, went out there, didn't perform up to snuff, but no concern there. And, Adam Thielen is what a great value pick. Everyone slept on him. I slept on him. And I don't know why I did, because he's just a baller. Like, he just gets open, he gets touchdowns. And Kirk Cousins has been like quietly efficient and putting together a great campaign so far in 2021. So we'll see what happens. But I think I got Dev A-. I feel pretty confident about that. Good week from Dev.
Yeah, I think all right week. I think if you look at just the point total, I would say this isn't where he wants to be, kind of as one of the guys we had ranked as contender. But I still think he found a way to get it done, and it wasn't like a complete collapse. So yeah, I'm a little bit maybe more worried about his wideouts than you guys are. But Brandon Ayuk had a bit of an emergence this week, which was nice to see for him, because I was really high on Ayuk at the beginning of the year. So who knows? I would give him around like a C+, quite honestly, just because he found enough to get it done. But I think he's going to want to improve upon quite a few things going forward.
Kirk, if I can though, AJ Brown went down very early in that game, and he only had 0.3 points. So he put up 127 with losing a player.
Yeah, that's fair. But he did lose the player this week. Like that hurts his grade, in my opinion. Like, I don't know if AJ Brown's back next week, but it certainly hurts to lose a player,
Hey, I actually added. Yeah, that's fair. But I added when you won with Christian McCaffrey going down for this week, I gave you a plus because that's a gritty win. So, I just try to be consistent here.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, then sure, I'll give him around a B then for that.
Okay. All right. Do you want to go to the interview then?
Yeah, let's get right into the interview. Will, welcome to our podcast, my friend. It's a pleasure to have you. What do we want to start him off with here, John? Do you want to just ask him a bit about um, what he's been thinking about the season so far, what he sees in store for himself here? He talked a little bit about it, but what are your plans here? Or should we just let's rewind? Let's talk about what happened this week against Jack. Take us through what went wrong, what went right, and where you see what you thought of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what went right is that I was playing Jack Martelli this week. I'm not going to beat around the bush. It's just it's it's Jack. I mean, he's got the good roster, like I said. He drafted very well, and I think he's got some good players on this team, but he just doesn't know how to get it done in the coaching department. So at 0-3 could turn to 0-4 and 0-5 and 0-6, very quickly unless Jack gets his stuff together. But yeah, it was like I said earlier, it was like a solid week for me. I don't think I should be 2-1 right now. I think I should be 1-2 or 0-3, but I think, looking forward for the prospects of my team, being 2-1 at this point could be really, really big when it comes to seeing who's going to get in the playoffs. And hopefully, if I can make some moves, get some better players on this roster, some more talent, then I'm going to look back on these weeks and be like, yeah, well, some nice dubs right there. But yeah, talking about the league as a whole, I thought it's been a great start to the season. I'm loving the engagement from everyone. Got to say thank you to you two commissioners for getting this podcast organized. And I think everyone in the league really appreciates it, myself included. Yeah, it's been a great season so far, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, Summer, can I, if you don't mind me jumping in here, you mentioned going up against Jack, and you didn't beat around the bush. You were playing him. Guy sucks. I can't stand him. He came on here and he put you all as his Martelli of the week. Was that something hanging in the bulletin board of your locker room? Was that something that you really used to inspire the gentleman?
Oh yeah, we actually had a TV installed in the locker room prior to last week's matchup, and we just had that clip on repeat of Jack handing us out the Martelli of the week, and I think that really motivated the players to step up and perform. And they didn't put up huge numbers, but they got the job done. And one actually forgot to mention about my team is defensively, we've been lights out this season. I have the least points against out of anyone in the league. And not to toot my own horn, but I think that does come down to coaching. I just have my guys where I want them to be. Not the most talent on the team yet, but I think my motivational speeches and my tactics, they're paying off, and the defense is stepping up.
Let me ask you something here, Will, because this has been a point of contention. You're a very vocal member of the league. You're a very influential member of the league. A little bit of contention in the past between myself and you, you and myself and I, about what is more important for playoff status. And you have always been in the points for camp, and you've sort of been benefiting from the win situation. And I just want to know, has it changed your perspective at all? Or are you still right there thinking points is who deserves it? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I have really gotten to experience, both sides of the story so far. I will say I'm very happy with the rule change we made at the beginning of the season to send the top 5 records to the playoffs and then number 16 in terms of scoring to the playoffs. But yeah, I'm not going to complain right now. I'm reaping the benefits of, there just being like parity in the league and, not having to be one of the best teams in order to win your week. And so you still always have a chance. But I would say I still am on the side of, whoever's putting up more points, that's really a sign of who's the best team.
Summer, I've often thought of the fantasy season, and it's a long season, kind of a 2-part process. You have the draft, and then you have midseason moves, you have your free agent acquisitions. So I'd love to hear, maybe give us who was one player you drafted or one draft moment that you really enjoyed in the Michigan, Miami, Mississippi Fantasy Football League, and then one mid-year trade deadline move that you really enjoyed, or it doesn't even have to involve you. Just love to hear, what your thoughts are.
Yeah. I think of my personal draft picks, I think the best move I ever made was trading up with William Prego pre-draft. I had the 4th overall pick. He had the 3rd overall pick. And I traded him. I think it was the 4th overall pick and my 3rd rounder for the 3rd overall pick and his 4th rounder. And so I got McCaffrey, he had one of the best fantasy seasons ever. And I think he might have drafted Zeke, who was not even like a top 1 or top 20 running back maybe that year. So that might be a personal favorite of mine. This one's not as noteworthy, but one regret I've already been having this season is I drafted James Robinson 2 spots above Joe Mixon this year. And that's, Robinson had a good week and, maybe he can get better, but it's looking like Mixon's the better fantasy player this year. So I kind of regretting that a little bit. But, if we talk about iconic moments, I think you can speak of nothing less than Antonio Brown, Tony Toe Tap. I think he drafted him. Has it been every single year now?
Yes.
Sitting in John's living room 2 years ago, before John makes his selection, he gets up, starts jumping across the room. Tony Toe Tap coming home. Yeah, and I love that you picked him up again this year. It just adds to the camaraderie of the league, and yeah, it's been some fun times in these drafts.
What do you think the bright spot is on your roster this year, and what do you think your weak points are? Unless you don't want to, not forcing you to, give away trade stuff here. But
I won't show too much of my hand, but I can answer that question. I think, honestly, looking at just one bright spot, there's not one player or pick that I look back and think, wow, that was like a home run pick. I'm happy with my Eckler pick. The first round, he's looking like a solid running back 1, not like Derrick Henry or McCaffrey or anything like that, but I think he was probably the best player I could have taken at that position. I'm not loving my T. Higgins pick as my wide receiver 2, but he did put up two solid weeks. The first 2 weeks he was injured last week, but not super loving that. And yeah, I guess those are my picks for that.
Summer, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about next week's matchup. And fortunately, we have your opponent also in the call, also in the Commish Dish. I'd love to hear, what do you have to say to him? And just for frame of reference, you're, 11.5-point dog going into this. That's a pretty big line. You scared at all? You intimidated, or you think the boys will rise up to the challenge?
I think, I think this is one of those matchups where the talent on the rosters or the projections or, how the season's gone so far, all of that's out the window. This is just a straight rivalry matchup, and it's about who has more heart and determination. So, I could start Billy Cundiff and Zach Wilson and Royce Freeman, but it's a rivalry game. They might step up. You never know. You never really know what's going to happen with this. But I will say, I do think I'm either 4-0 or 3-1 or something like that against Kirk all time. So I do definitely have his number there. And you better bet that I'm going to be hyping up my boys this week, because this is, this could be the biggest matchup of the season for them.
Yeah. I'll say, I'm not going to talk too much about this. I'm not going to say this or that. I could take you through, McCaffrey's injured and stuff. I've got these concerns. I've got that concerns. I'm hopeful about this. I'm going to tell you a little story. All right. This game has been circled in red ink since last year. It has been circled before the playoffs last year, before all that shit. This game has been fucking circled for me. All right. let me tell you, all right. Last year, there was an incident. I won't go into the incident, but there was an incident. And the incident resulted in me losing the division title to Will Sommer. Will Sommer has owned me up to this point. I'm not gonna, oh, my team this year, his team this year. No, this is what I'm gonna say to you right now, ladies and gentlemen. Tune in right now. I guarantee you, I will beat Will Sommer this week. I fucking guarantee it. We will win this week.
Wow.
That's all. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wow.
All right, the boys are ready. The boys are ready. Let's run it. It's gonna be a great fantasy matchup.
Kirk, I might do the same tactics as last week. I might just have that 10-second clip right there on repeat for my guys because
dude, run it. Let's go. This is a rivalry.
Man, Kirk, sometimes sometimes you got to let your little brother, have a little taste of victory, and then you got to put them in their place a little bit. And so, maybe this week I'll mess around a little bit, and I'll let my boys give you the lead for a little bit, give you some hope, let your players have their fun, and I'm just gonna bury you on the ground, my guy.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
Will is channeling Mike Hart. I am channeling Jim Harbaugh. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Wow.
It's gonna be a fun matchup, guys.
This is going to be a bloodbath. This is not a fantasy matchup. This is a war. These are hungry. These are hungry teams going at it. There's only one stake. They're both biting at it. Big dog's going to win, but little dog is scrappy and he's hungry.
All right, boys. Do you have anything else for Will? It's been a pleasure having you on, man.
Yeah. No, I think we really appreciate you making the time, Sommer. I know you're busy, got the insurance gig and doing various insurance matters and insurance.
Various
lawyerings and things of that nature. So just appreciate you coming on and thank you for the time, man.
Yeah, boys, I really appreciate it as well. It was great being on the pod, and hopefully my boys can get it done this week. We'll have to see. All right.
I'll see you again, man.
Thanks for having me.
See you, man.
Best of luck. All right. Will Sommer, ladies and gentlemen. It's a good guest. It's a good guest. It's a lot of fun when he comes on.
I think we should probably just add another break in here. So we're going to go to break. See ya. Welcome back, guys. We're just back from our very special guest, Will Sommer. We're going to dive right into our power rankings here. We're running a little bit overtime, so going to skip around the horn today. We're going to get into the power rankings. We're going to do our winners of the week, our fantasy MVP, and our Martelli of the week, and then finish us off right there. So, John, do you want to take us into your power rankings here?
Yeah, let's do it. Keeping the same categories as last week. To remind you, doomed, panic, meh, contenders, and favorites. A lot of movement this week. Saw some top teams lose and saw some bottom feeders win. So could really shift the power ranking. Let's just get started with 10 because we have the same one and it's no surprise. Will Prego coming in at number 10. Guy's team, I mean, it's trash. I say it every week, he's trash. Actually, he's not trash. His team is trash. So we'll see if he can make a move, but doomed for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this is probably the worst team and they're 0-3. So even if they aren't maybe the worst roster, they're down there and they're 0-3, and he still has like all of his games against Josh and Dev. I think he still has to play some of the other top players in the league. So yeah, I'm got him at 10. I think I'm in full on panic mode if I'm Prego.
Yeah, he's in a bad spot, and don't want to beat a dead horse here. So let's go to number 9 here. Number 9, I got Sommer. He had a big win. He beat Jack Martelli, but as we've mentioned, you heard from him, he didn't beat around the bush. Jack Martelli stinks. He's 0-3, and he did get a win this week, but I do think there's reason for panic. Hasn't got the production that he wants. I think he recognizes that this is not a playoff team as currently constructed. He's got to make a move here. He's a savvy manager. I think he can pull something off. But as of right now, I think, it is time to panic, but it's not doom territory, but it's time to panic.
Yeah, this is our first area where we disagree a little bit. I've got Martelli here, 0-3, and he just lost to a team he kind of needed to beat because like you were saying, Sommer Sommer's not one of the better teams. So now he's just in a massive hole. And I don't think his roster is like special or like exceptional in any way. So I have a hard time seeing him doing even 500 for the rest of the year. And even if he did 500, he might not make the playoffs. So I don't know. I just don't think I'm in panic mode if I'm Martelli right now. And I am yeah, that's why I've got him at 9.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, plenty of question marks there. And, moving to number 8 for me, I have the Sheriff. And, I feel like it's kind of tough to come up with new stuff about the Sheriff. He won this week, so he can't even, I had him at 9. He won, so you got to give him his respect. But at the same time, the dude's roster, it's not a good roster. And I don't think it's going to finish as a playoff team. I know he's 2-1. But I'm calling Fugaze. I don't believe it. I'm not a believer. And the iceberg's coming. It's only a matter of time before the Sheriff's ship gets hit.
Yeah, I don't disagree too much that I don't love his roster. But we live in a crazy world, man. We live in a world of mischief, in a world of chaos. And I think that the Sheriff might have tapped into some of that chaos magic. He's got some paradoxical stuff going on, kind of like you had going for a little bit last year. So I don't have him quite so low. Number 8, I've got Sommer, and the reason I've got him there is because is that showing up for you or?
Nah, not yet. There you go.
Okay. I've got Sommer there, and the reason is I just don't think he's really had too many great performances, and I'm just, even though he is 2-1. I do think he's kind of gotten lucky to be there, and I just have a lot of question marks about his roster. So yeah, that's where I've got him. I do think he is, in my opinion, in markedly better shape than Martelli and Prego right now.
That's fair.
In the panic mode.
That's fair, and I mean, I obviously had him at 9, so I'm pretty much with you on that. I'm gonna reveal both of my mez and. Had you and Mark, and I want to talk about your team just very briefly. And I think I kind of covered Mark in my report card. I just don't love his team. I think it's meh. He came up a little bit short to Dev, but his running backs kind of stink. And he had James White. Anytime you're relying on James White, I've got burned by him many times. He's a pass catcher, just not good. And for your team, huge win, most points in the league. Yet I think I dropped you 3, maybe 2 or 3 spots, and it's a Christian McCaffrey injury. We'll see. I think you're a savvy manager. You're resilient. You could conjure up something to keep you afloat for the weeks that you're going to be missing him. But I'm worried. Christian McCaffrey is so talented, but if he can just get on the field and stay healthy, he'd be so much. I mean, he'd be unbelievable. But that's the question mark with him. Obviously, I think your team is still great, but losing your best player anytime is going to drop you significantly in my book.
Yeah, I won't push back on you too hard. That's definitely, I think that's a fair outlook. And it's kind of funny because here, I'll just unveil mine. I moved myself up here this week, despite losing my best player, just because, I don't know, some of the guys on my roster have really won me over. Cooper Kupp, Mike Williams, DeAndre Swift is emerging as maybe a potential like RB1 this year, fringe. And then I got Matthew Stafford. It made me feel so much better to have, a solid QB there. And I honestly, unironically think he might win the thing. So I moved myself up a bit. In terms of Sheriff and Mark, like you were saying about Sheriff, I don't love his roster. That's why I've got him at 7, despite 2 wins over 2 teams who are, I think, pretty good, and myself and Josh. I still think, we'll see him come back down to earth, and he's still kind of, I have that hot take about him making the playoffs, and I'm gonna stay with it this week. But it's still a hot take. It's a hot take for a reason. So I've got him at 7. Mark, I think he had like a decent week, and barring injury, he probably would won that game. But then again, Dev had some injuries he was dealing with, but still 125 with some injuries. I've got him at 6. You want to move on to the contenders now here?
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna probably drop all of them right here. And In order, I have Josh, Martelli, and myself. And I think probably a lot of people are going to be wondering, why am I putting Martelli at 4? And let me explain why. I'm playing him this week. You're about to hear in approximately 10 minutes me talking a lot of smack. And I think you kind of have to balance out the smack talk with some respect here. This is a league where karma is real. It's a real thing. Jack Martelli has faced it time and time again. He won the first year and has been talking smack and getting smacked game in and game out. So I have to say, I have Martelli at 4, and that's just, it's a fraud. It's a I think it's kind of ironic. It's contenders. I don't see him as a contender, but I have to put him up there because I'm about to talk some smack, and I can't be too confident here. Josh at 3, 100-point week, not a great week at all. Definitely still think he has one of the best rosters in the league. Bit of an off week, and I think he kind of is. He was playing the Tyler Lockett game. You played that. You were on that roller coaster last year. When the highs are high, like the highs are very high, but the lows are very low as well. And as a flex, it's not the end of the world, but it's something you got to deal with. And unfortunately, this week kind of took him out of contention, beating the sheriff.
Yeah, I'll go real fast. I think Santi, I got him at 5. Really good week. And I don't know if he moved at all for me. If he did, it was like down 1 or 2, and it wasn't his fault. He just, I had a good week. So I'm still confident about him. I think he's a playoff team. Not worried about Santi at all. And I like his roster. So that's why I've got him in the contenders. As for me, I moved myself up here. I already talked about it a little bit. I just think I addressed the quarterback situation. And I think I'll find a way to get at least 1 or 2 wins in this 3-game stretch without McCaffrey. So I don't know. My team kind of won me over this week. That's why I got May at 4. And I've got Josh at 3 because he had that down week. And I've kind of noticed a pattern here with his team in that it's very explosive and every single player is explosive. And like the first week he had half his guys go off. And then the next week it was like a different half of guys go off. And I think he'll still win like a ton of games. But I think he is in danger of like this sort of week where, maybe 1 or 2 guys go off, but not the whole, let the other guys have down weeks. And he just has sort of a putrid performance. So I didn't drop him too far, but I did say, you can't score 100 and lose to the sheriff and be at 1 or 2. So that's sort of my thinking there. Yeah. Do you want to get into the favorites now?
Yeah. And, gotta keep.
Also, I want to say I disagree with the Martelli take. Just want to put that on the record. And I think that's wrong. But anyway, let's move on.
Fair enough. So 1 and 2, I got Devin and Santi, and I've been giving Santi's team a lot of gas. I really think they have a great team. I mentioned this in the report card. I looked at the roster and I was like, this talent, top to bottom, some of the best wide receivers in the league, some of the best running backs in the league. I mean, if Saquon Barkley can not even be 100% back to his like former dominance, even 80% of Saquon Barkley is probably a top 10 running back in the league. So, I mean, that's probably even being too conservative. I think Santi's got a great team. I like Hawkinson a lot. I mentioned that last week. He was quadruple teamed against the Ravens. And, based on Kirk's slideshow, we all know how that went down. But I think the outlook's positive. And, for Dev's team, consistent. He lost A.J. Brown. We'll see how long he's out for. I don't know what the severity of the injury was, but I think Dev's got a great team and very consistent. You got to it's typical to lose, one of your best players and still pull out a win.
Okay, yeah, I'll go into my favorites now here. I like what you're saying about Devin Santi. I'm a little bit more concerned about Santi being just 1 and 2. I think he's in a bit of a hole. I don't think he'll have too much trouble digging out of it, but I think he might have trouble being, one of the 1 or 2 teams in the league. But then with Dev, I'm right there with you. I've got him at 2. And I've got a familiar face here at 1.
Oh my gosh, I did not know this. This is happening live, people. We didn't talk about this before.
Let me just explain my reasoning here. And it's because I think every team basically, besides maybe myself and John, has had a bad week. Maybe Santi hasn't had a bad week, but every single week you've been over 120, right? And you got the 3-0 record. And granted, you played Prego, which is kind of a free win, but you scored 145 in that game. So it's not like you snuck by. And I don't know. I just really like your team. I like your depth. And I think that consistency is a big deal in terms of getting on to the playoffs. And from there, you have a chance to win the championship. So that's why I've got you at 1. Dev had some injuries this week, and he still had a good week, but the injuries keep me from moving him up to 1. That's where I'm at. Josh will probably stab us both in our sleep tonight, but hey, it's what it is. And do you want to move on to favorite team of the week and favorite player of the week?
Before we do that, let me I made this graph. And it's total points through 3 weeks, just to give you guys a frame of reference of where everyone's situated right now. And you'll notice what I actually thought was kind of interesting was Kirk at 1, Dev, Josh. Then I think I kind of break this down to a couple different tiers looking at this graph. I think Kirk, Dev, and Josh, all in terms of their performances, pretty consistent. Santi and me, neck and neck. And then there's a big drop off after that. We talked about the parity in the league, but granted, it's only week 3, and I'm sure as we get more data and more weeks in, some of these variations will be more significant. But through 3 weeks, I think we're starting to see a trend develop here of the good teams, and Prego and Sheriff are the bottom 2, and that's kind of, I think, right. And then Jack and Sommer also kind of bottom of the barrel. So it's no surprise that points for and wins do. We talked about this with Sommer about how much weight should we give points for versus wins and losses. And I think it's just interesting to look at this graph and see more or less it usually lines up.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting graph, and I think it actually does confirm that it's a pretty balanced league, because I think if you looked at this like year 1, it would have been like it would have been a hill, So I think it's everyone's gotten better, and I'm proud of everyone. And I think, yeah, this graph is pretty interesting. I think we should probably make this a weekly segment, because it'll be a little interesting. Maybe we could even do like a little progression from week to week.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, interesting graph. One of these bottom 5 teams also, John, has to sneak into the playoffs, right? There's that 6th spot is up for grabs. And as Will was reminding us, it does go to the point.
That's a good point.
Which is interesting, because if you pencil in, let's say, the top 5 teams here, and I mean that it's really premature to say that, but it's still going to be a dogfight, it looks like, for that number 6 spot, because everyone's kind of in sniffing distance of it, and yeah.
That's an excellent point, and I think we should track the progression, because I'm curious, and I totally forgot that the 6th spot is going to go to the highest points for. So this graph is a lot of meaning besides the indication of wins and losses.
Also, keep in mind though, like Santi is 1 and 2, so he would be getting that 6th spot right now, despite being higher up there. But I think, yeah, as long term, you'll probably see the top 5 point totals get the best records, and then from there. It looks like John is taking a little vacation here in the middle of the podcast. That's fine. I'm here to talk to you guys, and I'm here to guide you, our fellow shepherd. And he's back. All right, let's go into favorites of the week and favorite players, favorite team.
Yeah, let's go. Favorite team. I think I'm going to give it to you. Most points for losing Christian McCaffrey. Thursday Night Football. 6 points from Christian McCaffrey. Unbelievable. Put up 152. I'm very, very proud of you, Kirk. You're a great man. You're a great manager. You're a great commissioner. Just glad to have you on the pod, and you're a great energy. So really hats off. Very typical performance. Player of the week, I'm going to give it to Davante Adams on the Sheriff's team. I was curious. I mentioned that Aaron Rodgers was sandbagging after getting blown out in New Orleans. Not even in New Orleans, in Jackson or wherever it was, like some Florida. I think it was in Florida. But anyways, they got crushed. Aaron Rodgers looked bad, looked great. Davante Adams took a hit. Oh, my gosh. I thought the game was dead. He comes back from the grave for the final drive, catches 2 big balls. They win on a game-winning field goal. Classic Aaron Rodgers. That offense is clicking, and I like Davante Adams moving forward.
Yeah, just on my team, I also want to just give the boys a little bit more love here and say, man, I'm so proud of these guys. And I'll move on to my team of the week then, and I'm going to give it to. This might sound like we're a little bit biased here, but I'm going to give it to you. I think you're the 2nd most points this week, and you got a big win over Prego, who is a rival. So Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you and say I didn't look at a lot of the totals here because I'm accidentally on the next week games page. But I think Josh had a big loss. I could have given it to Sheriff, but he only scored 115. Um, Dev and Mark both had kind of meh weeks, and Dev got a win. And then Santi had a good week, but he came up with a loss, so that kind of sucks. And then I mean, Will beat Jack. I'm not going to be handing game balls out to beat Jack. You know what I mean? So yeah, for my favorite player, I'm going to highlight someone on my team as well because this person needs to be talked about, and it's Mike Williams. Mike Williams is a fucking dog, man. He
He's
is
a
a player.
dog.
He is a baller, man. He is the number 2 wide receiver in fantasy right now in point total. I mean, what a guy. He had 33 this week. He's been unbelievable for me. And he's just, I mean, he is a great player. He stepped up big with that McCaffrey injury because I only won by 10 points. So I needed every little bit I got. So yeah.
Yeah,
you wanna
real
move
quick
to-
on the Mike Williams point. I've been high on Mike Williams. I think I've drafted him in a lot of other leagues, not this year, but a couple years. And I keep thinking he's going to be good. And I'm glad he's having a breakout. I think he's just a good, insane talent. He's a big, deep threat, which is crazy because he's also like a very good 50-50 contested catch kind of guy.
Yeah.
So, it's rare to get a combo of them, but he is looking great. And that might be the pickup of the year. A little premature to say that, but he's unbelievable.
And I want to say something else too is like, dude, Justin Herbert, kind of a legit dude as well.
Yeah.
So we might be seeing a kind of a pretty iconic connection there because I think Mike Williams is what a third-year player.
Yeah.
So I mean, those guys might be together for a while, and it could be pretty nice connection to watch for a while.
And they got Keenan Allen on that team too. It's kind of reminding me of like Aaron Rodgers with Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb. I mean, both, that offense is just humming. And I really,
Yeah, dude, or like, was it Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne or for Peyton?
yeah. Like, I feel like, it's crazy to think about it, but Justin Herbert looks legit. Like, he looks very legit, and that offense is sick. Like, Austin Eckler's great. A lot of weapons, a lot of offense. And it's a shame to see Hunter Henry go to the Patriots and become a lifeless, no personality, soulless kind of guy. But that's the Belichick way, and it's a shame. But I'm liking what I'm seeing. And I think they got Jared Cook, who, like, how is he in the league? Is he like 55?
I don't know, dude. Hunter Henry though, I looked at some like advanced stats this year before the draft because obviously I do my research. And Hunter Henry as a tight end, for the target share he was receiving, was way underperforming what the average tight end would be doing with that target share. So I don't think it's too big of a loss, especially if it's going to Mike Williams. But yeah, I can't believe Jared Cook is still in the NFL. I haven't heard his name in like 4 years since you said that. So
I thought he was out of the league too. And then I think he's been like a journeyman. Like, he's been bouncing around a couple places, but yeah, surprising to see him. But you're right. I mean, Mike Williams is a red zone threat, and I'm sure he's already got like 3 to 5 touchdowns, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's been great. All right, you want to move into Mortelli of the week? Who you got?
Yeah, I mean, so I made another chart here, and I'm trying to zoom in if I can. Maybe I'll just expand it this way. And in case you are still having trouble, this is my number of wins and Jack's number of wins through 3 weeks. And you'll notice, so Jack is in red, I am in blue. Through 3 games played, I have 3 wins, and Jack is not even on the graph because he has 0 wins.
John, I think I'm having some problems here. I'm not seeing any red on this graph, John.
Kirk, that is correct because he has yet to win a game.
Oh, Jack hasn't won any games yet.
Jack has not won a single game in the 20.
So that's where the red would not be on the graph in that situation.
The red would not be on the graph, and the red is not on the graph.
I have a quick question for you, John. When do you think there will be red on this graph? Do you think maybe by the end of this year, or do we have to wait till next year before we see a little bit of red on this graph?
No, his cockiness is any indication, and how high he was riding off of a win almost 2 years ago now. Probably next year, if I'm honest. I think it's time. I thought someone was going to go 0-14, and this could very well be the team. And we haven't talked about punishments yet, and maybe we can have some sort of dialogue with future guests of trying to gauge where they're at. But, I think it's safe to pencil him in for, he will be receiving that punishment. He will finish last in the consolation bracket. And, there's no shaming there. Pride in loss and graciousness in victory, and he has neither. So, hopefully get to hand him a fat L this week and you keep the red off the graph.
I think this might be the best moment on the podcast ever, because I just want to highlight to our viewers here that John is coming off ranking Martelli above myself, above a lot of good fantasy football teams. And he literally has done that as a sacrificial lamb. He literally didn't want to do that, but he cut himself. He bled as a sacrifice so that he could avoid the punishment of the gods for going this cocky and this down on Jack's team. An astonishing moment, a beautiful moment of pure. This is what the league's all about. All right, yeah, I'll get into my fantasy pick here. My Marcelli of the weeks is Josh, because he was the best team in the league, and we're all riding high on 175, and then he lost to Sheriff, which I also did that. I give myself Martelli of the week for it, so it's not like I'm being double standard. But my loss was not as bad, because Sheriff put up 130 on me, and I lost by like 2 points. So yeah, not a great week for me, but Josh had a complete collapse this week, and I don't think he'll be a regular feature or anything on this, but I do think he needs to be called out a little bit on it, and I'm sure he's gonna love that. So I thought I'd give him Martelli of the week this week. Yeah, and we're gonna wrap it up here, guys. We're not gonna preview every game next week. We're going on quite a long podcast here, and we're trying to get some sleep. So we're just gonna hop into Martelli roast of the week. Jack, you're cocky, you're short. That's all I've got. John, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, you gotta hit on the main ones, and I think Jack is, he's a stand-up guy. He's dependable. He's a very humble guy at times, and it's been nice to see him come down to earth a little bit. He's still pedaling and wheeling and dealing with the car parts and various car dealings that he's engaged in. But yeah, just you can't say anything bad about the guy. And this is also the second sacrifice. I want that to go on a record here. I am absolutely bleeding out internally for the win this week.
Are you playing?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Also, we haven't done interesting matchup. We can do that real quick.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I quickly wanted to preview Josh v. Santi. I think that's going to be a huge matchup this week. I'm excited to see what Josh's team is made of. Can they bounce back? Horrible week last week. Martelli of the week is, very well deserved. Let's see what he's got. Projected 132. I think that's probably one of the highest in the league, and he does obviously have a good team, but we'll see. I'm curious on how this is going to fare. I've been very high on Santi. I think Santi wins this probably by 5 to 10. And I think Josh is going to be very salty in the group chat.
Really? Okay. Yeah, this is a really intriguing matchup. And I think this is probably going to be like the more tight, explosive games of the year. But I still think I'm gonna disagree and go with Josh here. I like him to bounce back a little bit. Lamar Jackson's not playing that really good Lions team this week, so I expect him to score more than 20. And I expect some of these other guys to just bounce back and get some explosions going on, because it's like a time bomb kind of. And if every single, like, I don't want to play Josh after a week where he scores 100 points, because I think that's sort of an anomaly. So yeah, I'm gonna go Josh there. I'm gonna go by like maybe 10 points, but I still think Santi has a good week, and I think that's gonna be pretty frustrating. But if he can hang tight, he'll start getting some wins here. My intriguing matchup, I'm gonna go. We talked about it a bit, but I'm gonna go me and Will. This is one of the bigger rivalries in the league. I don't know if everyone knows that, but me and Will know each other about as well as two people who aren't blood related can know each other. And we are, he's owned me, but this is kind of my year. Last year was kind of my year, and he literally stole that from me. So we are very hungry to beat this team over in the American Psychos. And that's all. I just want to, keep an eye on this matchup. All right. Because the winner is going to be talking some shit. And yeah, that's about that.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. I think you're right to highlight it. That should be a great matchup. You two obviously very close, but it was intense. As someone who was on the pod, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. So a lot of beef, a lot of animosity between these two sides. At the end of the day, they're still friends, but for this one week, there's nothing friendly about their relationship. This is they want to win, they want to dominate, they want to shove the fantasy team in the dirt who they're playing. And I think, you didn't talk about your prediction, although you mentioned earlier you're going to win and you guaranteed that. Obviously a bold move, but I actually have you winning as well. And I think, no Christian McCaffrey going to hurt, but I think you pull out the dub.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm not gonna say the point total or anything like that. I already said the win. Um, so that's where I'm gonna leave it. I think I'm gonna win.
Love it.
That's what I've got. And if I lose, hey, maybe we'll get Will back on to roast me up a little bit. But
Have him on for like a special 2-minute segment of just the
just had a pre-recorded video.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you for tuning in. I think we'll I don't know, anything left to say?
I feel like we have to end with something about Jack. So I'll say a little piece here. I was talking about how Sheriff is kind of winning with chaos magic, and I think Jack's kind of losing with it. He's finding innovative ways to lose. So let's see if that keeps up. That's all I've got. Do we want to take it through the outro?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. 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 Go! Mm-hmm. Go! Mm-hmm.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you later. Have a good one.
Have a good night. Peace.